Esther Turan is in the house. Tongue twister. I love your beautiful name, though. We are here at Good Morning LaLa talking about transforming your career, and no better way through movies, through film. We've watched so many and been inspired by so many, and as a director, producer, and the founder of the Movie Bar. It's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm a newcomer in LA.
You are?
I've been living here only for a year.
Oh, wow. So, you really are a newcomer.
Are you loving it, or how do you feel?
I love it. I really love it. The weather is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in winter again in Europe. So, yeah.
But don't you feel like it's a treasure hunt? Like when I first moved here, I was like, you got to get your parking ticket and know exactly when to get it and where to put it. And it's like, like when you first go to anything in LA, you got to it's a whole thing. But then you can do it. Then it's no problem.
I mean, I've been here for meetings, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because I just felt that this is the place for me. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit, sometimes it feels like I'm in a jungle and I have to figure out like, wow, you know, there is a lot.
I feel like you could be here for 10 years and just begin to get your bearings. Yeah, your bearings here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so take us how to your career now. You now are clearly like a very profound director, producer, all the above. Did you go through a transformation to get here? What was that for you?
It's a great question, and as you said earlier, I also believe in the fact that it's never too late to change. So in my career, there was just a slight change, but there are always slight changes. So me starting to direct, for instance, is a recent thing, because I used to be, or I'm still more a film producer. Mm-hmm. But 3 years ago, I just felt the need to have my own message, and with a co-director friend of mine, we started to direct a documentary series.
Mm-hmm. So take us to that moment. Was it a hard moment? Was there something that happened that you were like, I have to do this?
I just had this urge that I have a saying and I have a message, and I just want to be heard. So that was like an enlightenment, like, you know, this moment that I also want to not just being involved in the creative process as a producer, but also to direct.
Yeah.
So
what is that message? What do you think that message is?
Well, with my co-director, her name is Anna Koltai, back in Hungary, we teamed up to tell the story about certain youth subcultures of our country, and we started to portray musical subcultures just like hip-hop or punk, hardcore punk, etc. And it was for us, super important for us to tell what happened in our country in those fields in the 90s and 2000s, because we come from a very strange country, you know, on the edge of West and East. And
so what happened? Tell us a little bit about it.
Everyone was super westernized and fascinated about American subcultures as teenagers, but, you know, everyone sort of like added the local twist to it. So how can you imitate an American subculture but have your own saying? Yeah. And what are the circumstances in this crazy world where the regime just changed a couple of years ago from socialism to capitalism?
What is that like?
It was.
Might happen around here, the opposite way.
It was full of hope. It was a very positive. It was very overwhelming. We all had, you know, this amazing euphoria that it's going to be democracy all of a sudden. I mean, I was young, but I also saw the joy of my parents and their generation. So it was very interesting, but it had a darker side, like chaos and what's going to happen. And as a teenager or as a youngster, you obviously depressed no matter what. Obviously, you're wrong. So true. So yeah, it's interesting. So that's how I started to direct, because I wanted to say that specific story through subcultures.
So how did that those larger sociocultural and sociopolitical sort of trends and patterns that you were experiencing there, how did that inform your work now? I know that you, of course, it's informed the documentaries, but has it informed other ways in which you either approach business or you approach your life?
It's a great question. Well, I think you both know that there are so many European filmmakers in Los Angeles, and I just really think that it's such an interesting melting pot that this city sort of like magnets talent from all over the world. Mm-hmm. So I think my uniqueness in a way that I do come from that strange angle of the world. but I'm also super influenced by the United States, and I'm co-producing and working on so many American projects.
So speaking of that, we'd love to showcase one of your trailers. It's really beautiful work that you've done, and I just want to show it for
Is this for
the
Sweden?
audience here.
Thank you for telling me.
Första kvällen pojkar. Finns ingen viktigare. Satt hela sommaren. Amen på det.
Välkomna till Gröna Lund, Stockholms enda nöjesfält.
Shot through the heart, and you're to blame. You give love a bad name. I play my part, and you play your game. You give love.
Finns inte en endaste del av mig som skulle lita på dig.
Den smarte. Jag vill tillhöra dig under vilka villkor som helst.
Ninni Nilsson, vinka om du hör mig så flyger jag upp till ditt fönster.
Jag sjunker henne till botten med familj. Jag skakar hand med en tappare.
Wow, that
Just
is
like literally brings tears to my. I'm like, it's so beautiful, and
Thank
to
you.
put it into a story and the art, and you just think about all the people that it takes to make this piece that could transform and touch so many people's lives.
Yeah.
What's that like for you? It's like a huge production.
Yeah, it's a Swedish feature film, and I'm one of the co-producers of it. It was shot both in Sweden and in Budapest, Hungary, and we needed to build an entire amusement park from the 1940s.
wow.
There's an iconic amusement park in Stockholm, and we needed to sort of like reproduce it in a way. And it's a really loving, sort of like a Romeo and Juliet story, but with a happy ending. And it's just a really romantic, fantastic fairy tale. And I'm so glad I could be part of it. The directors are pretty known in the US. They created the Bridge TV series on FX. And they had another few shows like Midnight Sun.
So tell people out there, I mean, there are lots of people that tune in because they want to be actors, or they want to be in the movie industry, or they want to be whatever. And what advice would you give them?
I think no one should ever be afraid of anything, and you should just focus on your message. What do you have to say? What do you want to tell? What do you want to sort of like get out to the world? And you should just do it, and it's going to happen.
It's so true. I mean, even like an actor, I agree. I think that it's like to act, people go, well, they're waiting for that great role, or they're waiting for whatever. Just act. It can be in the living room with your family. It can be wherever, and as you embody those skills and do whatever. But for you, how did you embody the skills? Did you have mentors? How did you do that?
I have a pretty special story because I kind of born into that. My father is a playwright, and my aunt is a very known actress in my country, in Hungary. So I kind of like that was my playground, being in a theater, either with my dad or with my aunt. My aunt is like in every Hungarian movie in the 60s and 70s. So it was, even in kindergarten, when your kindergarten teachers are asking about your aunt instead of asking about, I don't know, your other things, I kind of like sort of like felt that this is a special world, and I kind of fall in love. And I was in acting, and then I didn't want to be an actor, and then I just found myself that I want to create things, and I went to film school, and I studied directing, and then I became a producer.
What would you say is the most memorable piece of advice you received either from your aunt or from someone else along the way?
I think I received a fantastic advice from one of the professors in film school, and he said, don't be an artist who doesn't have a field. In a way, don't waste your talent just for the pose of being artist, but sort of like channel your talent and let it out. I don't know if it makes sense because but I think that was one of the best motivation advices, that I shouldn't just, oh, I'm an artist. I'm a filmmaker.
I made that mistake with the consulting thing. I was like, wow, management consulting sounds pretty cool. Everybody else is investment bankers and I will be respected. And then, realize, oh, I can't live on, the status of a title alone. Right. So yeah.
And it's always hard work. It's not the pose, it's the work.
So what about that? What's been some of the dark moments that you've had to encounter through the process? Because I think there's always that dark night of the soul of just really getting to that place, the hero's journey of having to overcome something major. I mean, it's very rare that we don't hear, anyone successful going through something really challenging. What was that for you?
Okay, it's a good question. I think I needed to fight a lot because I started very early being a producer, and I had a lot of struggle with people taking me seriously or taking me serious enough as a producer. So, for instance, that was very challenging. Or just being burnt out, how to deal with the quantity of work if you're successful, how to recharge yourself.
So how have you found that balance? Because we're all in that tightrope right now, especially with so much energy coming from the internet and emails and da-da-da-da. It's a common theme I hear with everybody that's in my life. They've got to figure out how to organize, how to manage, and how to find balance. How do you do that?
I think now it's going to be a little bit about me as a producer. So I sort of shifted from things in filmmaking that I less liked to things that are really meaningful for me. And I had the luxury, because I have an amazing crew around me and I have an amazing business partner, so I could more focus on things that actually within the work gives me joy instead of just routine.
It's one of the most important things, and it's often overlooked, because we know that the most extraordinary companies and individuals, they focus on the things that lift them up and inspire them and excite them, as opposed to working on things all the time that they hate. And that's how you become extraordinary, essentially, by doing that. So I love that you highlight that. It's something that we all think of as just a cliche, but it actually is based in empirical data.
Right.
Really helpful.
So tell us again about the other project also. There's this Field Guide to Evil trailer, right? So tell us about that one.
Okay, so it's such a great coincidence that I moved to LA, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months after, I needed to fly to Texas to the South by Southwest Film Festival because this movie of ours, which is called The Field Guide to Evil, debuted there, and we premiered there our movie. It's a horror.
I love the title.
Thank you. It's a horror anthology, and I'm not a horror fan, but this is based on folk stories of 8 different countries in the world. Wow. So 8 directors directed 8 different sequences, and I produced one of the sequences, but we teamed up. So I'm involved obviously in the entire project, but it's just having this folk twist and discussing like the dark consciousness of certain nations. I just think it's a very interesting psychological.
So tell us about that, because I don't think, what from this, folk tale story, what was the takeaway? What's the takeaway for you?
Okay, so my sequence was directed by this phenomenal British director whose name is Peter Strickland, and he picked a Transylvanian Hungarian folk story because his wife is Hungarian. So that's and I don't want to reveal the story because now it's in festivals still. We are touring in festivals, and there's going to be a North American release pretty soon. But let me just say that in our sequence, there are shoes going to be made out of human skin.
Wow. That's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre right there. Right? Nobody probably remembers that movie, but yes, that's very horrific.
Yeah. And on the other hand, it's twisted with a fairy tale-ish, very surreal world. So it's not that hardcore. Yeah. It's more subtle, and it's.
But I think there is evil that we just really don't even know that's going on this planet right now. There's literally heaven and hell on this planet, and it depends on the life that you're living in, the mindset and everything else. And it kind of freaks me out a little bit. I remember a mentor saying you have to, if you're really going to rise to the next level, at some level you have to experience some evil to go to the next, because you have to understand full consciousness. And I don't want to look at the dark side.
I was going to say, watching the movie, does that count? I prefer just watch it on the screen.
Right.
But I think that it might help you understand certain things in the world. And what was super interesting for me, being in South by Southwest, because that was actually the first time that I had the chance to see the entire movie, and just to compare the European sequences, how similar they are in a way to each other, and that freaked me out because I didn't know how the German sequence will turn out, or how the Austrian sequence or the Polish sequence, and we had something in common, and it was just such a, an interesting phenomenon to figure out that, wow, like those stories.
Human beingness
yeah.
is really similar, good and bad, right? All of our struggles are the same, but then they can go to the extreme.
Totally. And it's one of the things that I appreciate so much about your work and your projects is that you not only highlight the diversity, but you embrace that diversity, and you also highlight the commonality that we all share as human beings, right? And I think that's a profound recognition and a profound aspect of your work. So thank you for doing
Yeah,
that.
thank you so much. So tell people where they can find you, follow you, the films, everything else.
So thanks for asking. My company is called Movie Bar Productions, and basically I opened the Los Angeles office. So I'm now involved in a lot of American productions, feature films. I might be shooting something very interesting in Europe, but it's an American film, super soon. And now I'm shooting a huge TV commercial for an American brand. Yeah, so it's called Movie Bar Productions, and we have a website, and we are on Facebook, and we have an Instagram account.
So they can come work with you and...
Totally, more than welcome. I'm here to, advise people on what's happening in Europe in terms of filmmaking, tax refund systems, how can we collaborate, how can we cooperate.
And what is happening with the film industry? Because obviously Netflix and things like that are taking over a lot of this, and TV's kind of going away. So what is happening?
I think it's a very interesting period and very interesting changes happening. I think it's really good because there are so many new platforms all of a sudden, and Amazon is really involved, and Hulu, and so there's just more platforms, and it's fantastic because you can choose your own. It's going to be even more specific to you in a way, and also what's happening with television, it's fantastic with the TV series. I'm basically here in LA to help to filmmakers to cooperate with Europe even more. And it seems like it's all happening.
I love that. So they can go to your website, and then they can also find you where on social media?
Yes.
What's your profile name?
It's my name is Esther Turan, so that's how I can be found. But also under Movie Bar, like if someone reaches out to Movie Bar Productions, then sooner or later,
Once it works up its chain of command.
Thank you so much for all your art. It's incredible work that you're doing.
Well,
beautiful,
thank you so
beautiful.
much.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thank you.